tonight is very much about club engagement, and we are mindful of the current situation. We just want to make sure that you have that support from the County FA, and I'm sure you've got lots of questions you want to ask this evening. So you've got Ricky Stevenson, the CEO, Jenny Blewett, designated safeguarding officer, myself, Liam Rooney, football development manager, and Ryan Haynes, football operations manager, who will be presenting during the course of the evening. Next slide, please, Ryan. Okay, the agenda. So we are going to be giving you an update on the current position. We will then move on to club affiliation and insurance for the new season, once we know that when that will be. County Cups, the FA Grassroots Technology Portal, which will be of use to all of you. The FA Chart Standard Club Programme, a safeguarding update from Jenny, coach education and player engagement, and funding opportunities. And then we'll finish off if there's any questions at the end. I think for those that come in just a bit later, if you have dialed in by your phone, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to unmute yourself, you just need to press the asterisk followed by 6 if you want to ask any questions. But let's try and if there's any questions you want to ask, please feel free. I'll hand you over now to Ricky, who's going to update you on our current position.
Thanks, Liam. Good evening, everyone. We just want to give you a position statement of where we currently are as Derbyshire FA. Next slide, please, Ryan. So, obviously, at this moment in time, it's quite difficult for everyone. We're urging people to follow government guidance. Currently, our position is that all grassroots affiliated football is remain suspended. We did take the decision to place some staff on furlough leave. Certain members of staff are working, and they're working remotely. We are trying to make sure we can provide as much support to clubs and leagues and members as we can. If you've got any questions, any queries during this period of time, if we can direct you to info@derbyshirefa.com email, those staff that are even working will look to pick up all inquiries and respond as swiftly as soon as we can. The situation regarding COVID-19 is very fluid, and at this stage it is impossible to say how and when football will be back. Like you, we want to get back as soon as we possibly can and get things up and running. We hope that we can get things back to normal next season, but at the moment it's possible that there's going to be a delay. Okay, we can't yet define when the season will restart. The government will determine when current restrictions can be lifted, and once it's safe to do so, the FA will permit grassroots football to start again. Next slide, please, Ryan. The FA did issue this guidance last week, and it is available on our website, and it's a position in relation to grassroots football and what is permitted as restrictions was lifted last week. So playing football individually to practice a skill or for fitness is permitted. Playing football with your family or another person living in your household. Okay, any individual can play football with one person who is not from their household. Coaching of adult player one-to-one is permitted. All social distancing guidelines must be followed. And additionally to that, the maintenance of grass and artificial pitches are permitted as long as social distancing and appropriate hygiene practices are adopted. If somebody has symptoms within our household of COVID-19, they're advised to stay at home and remain at home. Next slide, please. The following activities are permitted. Is not permitted. And this is keeping with government guidelines. So coaching of a child under 18 from a different household on one-to-one. So that's not allowed to be done. And this is due to the FA's safeguarding policies. So a child must have a parent or carer with them. And so this doesn't comply with government social distancing requirements. 2 or more people from one household playing one person or more outside their household. That's not permitted. The FA will continue to work with the government and Sport England in order to provide guidance to ensure a safe return following COVID-19. You know, I can assure you there's conversations every day that's, you know, looking at how things move forward as restrictions look to be released. Next slide, please, Ryan. These are current staff that are working. It's Liam, myself, Jenny and Ryan. We're all working from home, and other staff, as you see listed there, are all on furlough leave. If you send an email into them, you'll get out of office. It will come through to us and we'll look to respond. That's why we urge you to look at accessing the info app email so we can make sure inquiries come through. Next slide, please, Ryan. The other thing we did launch on April the 1st was our 24/7 support portal. So this is within our website. You can click on it via this link. It is in the website, just come up straight away. And it's where you can ask any questions. We know sometimes, you know, you need a question, and that might be when you're doing the work, not when we're available. You can ask questions in this portal. If you can't, you can then send us an email to say, I'm looking for this, can you provide it? We can then provide updates as we go along. That's the end of my update. Are there any questions in relation to what I've presented just there? I'm just looking in the chat. I don't see anything in the chat. No hands raised. So I'm going to pass on to Ryan to talk about club affiliations. You there, Ryan?
There we go. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. I'll mention some. I'll talk to you about some things around the club affiliation insurance. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to either raise your hand or put something in the chat box, and we can answer that on the session for you. So, club affiliation will open on Monday, the 1st of June 2020. There'll be no price increase on the product fees from last season, and discounts will be applied when we know a restart for grassroots football. This is really important that we will do this once we know a restart. The reason for that, and an example, is that if we apply a 50% discount to all of the products for the coming season and football doesn't start until January, we won't actually have offered a discount. We'll have offered a pro rata of what you would have paid anyway. So to allow us to give the best value for all of our members, once we do know what that date looks like and when football restarts, we'll then be in contact with everyone to let them know of those price discounts for the new season. Another point is that we've moved our insurance from Sports Guard to Bluefin. So again, the clubs will see no more, or they won't pay any more than they did last season. What you will see is an increased benefit, particularly for the adult clubs in terms of the weekly cover and some other benefits for inside that. What we will be doing is sending out an e-booklet prior to the 1st of June. And with that, it'll give you some more information on the insurance. The affiliation, as normal, will get completed through the whole game system. One thing that you will see is that there won't be any prices on any other products. So if your club affiliation, your team fees, they will all be shown as zero. The reason for that, as already mentioned, is that we don't actually know what the prices are yet. So we're trying to get everyone affiliated as quickly as we can do, and then we'll invoice people separately on Xero, which is our accounting software. And I'll show you an example in a minute of what the invoice will look like. The only thing it will ask you to pay for at the point of affiliation is your public liability, of which you'll have two options. The first option, option one, is county cover, which is the normal public liability you will have all received previously, and that'll be £25. Option two, and the first time we've offered this as a county, is County Cover Plus, which is £54 per club. What that does include those player-to-player claims. So should a player on an opposing team to yourself receive a serious injury and take it further through the legal channels, that cover would then protect you and help you with the damages up to a value should that get to that stage. So something for you to look at through your clubs and with your club committees as to which level of public liability that you're looking to do. Are there any questions on the club affiliation at this stage, or is everyone happy to move on?
There's no questions in the chat, Ryan. And there aren't any hands raised at this stage.
Perfect. So there's just an example. As you'll see, the description will give you the different products that you have, the quantity that you've put through your club affiliation, and then the price. And then once the discounts are applied, that will show in this section. So when you do then receive that invoice, it will give you the total amount, and that will come in this format rather than through the whole game system.
We have a question, Ryan, from Neil Brown.
Yeah.
Hi, Ryan. I just wanted to understand, when we affiliate and we go on the whole game system, do we have to move the teams up a year, or will that be done already?
Thanks, Neil. So part of the whole game system integration will move all the teams up an age group. So by the time you come to, or by the time affiliation opens on the 1st of June, all that data should already be there. It should only be new teams that you'll need to look to add.
Super, thank you.
We've got
Any
another
other
hand.
questions?
We've got another hand raised. Ton Voon.
Hi. Wanted to ask, we've got a couple of teams that are renaming. Would we be able to rename them in whole game?
Yep, thanks for the question. So what we'll need you to do, if you can send an email to info@derbyshire.fa.com with the proposed name change, all we'll then need to do is look on the system to see if there's any other club with that name. If there isn't, then we can approve it and let you know. And if there is, we'll let you know the reason why that's been rejected, and then communicate with you any potential suggestions that we can look at.
Okay, thank you.
That seems to be all for now, Ryan.
Perfect. On to the county cups. So our board met last week to decide the outcome for the 2019-2020 season, and that will be communicated to the finalists in the next couple of weeks. Once that's done, we'll then communicate that out to everybody else to let you know what's happening. In terms of the 2020-21 season, what we're asking is all clubs enter as normal. Again, on the products on the whole game system, this will show free of charge. The entry fees will remain the same cost as last season, and we'll get invoiced at a later date. Once we know when football restarts, there will then be a decision whether or not the cups will continue. Naturally, if they start in January or something like that, then we'll look to speak to our leagues to make sure that there's no congestions with fixtures, and we can make sure that any games planned are then able to be completed as planned. So as soon as we know when football restarts, we'll give you position on the county cups for the 2021 season. Has anyone got any questions on county cups?
Donna Bowman.
Yeah.
If you want to unmute yourself, Donna.
Hi, sorry about that. It was just to check if it's compulsory for teams to enter the Derbyshire Cup competitions, or can they opt out?
It depends on if they're Saturday or Sunday.
Sunday, we normally in the Junior Cup.
Yeah, so Sunday is optional. The Saturdays it is mandatory, but the Sunday it is optional.
Right, thank you for that.
No worries.
Seems to be all for now, Ryan.
Perfect. On to the FA Grassroots Technology Portal. This will be of a lot of use to a lot of people, particularly people that are dealing with player registrations and the different systems such as full-time. After the session, what we will do is send you a copy of the presentation so that you have access to the links. But just to give you an example of what the portal can do for you. So as you can see, there's a knowledge base that is in different sections. So you can see the player registration here, looking at different things around player photos, adding email addresses to under 18s. So for more information, if you click on the link, then it will open up and give you some step-by-step guides of what you need to do. And then on some of them, you can also see there's a video. This one also has 2 additional documents, so you can go on there as well. And if you're still unsure that that the information you're asking for and that is not what you're after, what you can do is create a new support ticket and ask a question. That'll then go into the system, and the FA Grassroots Technology team will get back to you with a resolution. If we just go back onto home, just to show you some of the other functions that it has. There's full-time, different things around email notifications, the Matchday app. So for some clubs that are thinking about using the Matchday app but not quite sure how to use it or what the benefits are, there's a number of different articles on here that will show you that for you. And just going down for the digital gym, So here you can see how to use Microsoft Teams, so the platform we're using tonight, how you could then use it as a club for either your committee meetings or some of the managers' meetings that you may have upcoming, but also how to run an online AGM, best practice guides. So if we go on to that one, there you can see a number of different suggestions of how to run the meetings, and then again a PDF document there running you through what the different things you can do on it. And like I say, we'll send this to you afterwards. Ricky mentioned at the start that we have a support portal ourselves. This is very similar to this. The only difference is that the portal that we run has things from facilities all the way through to referee development, so covering a wider range of things, whereas this is just for just for the IT technology solutions that you can have. The other thing worth looking at for you as clubs, 2021-22 player registration will be mandatory with email, so it might be worth looking, if you have a spare few minutes, some of the things in here, 13 articles, and that'll guide you through the process. Are there any questions on FA technology systems?
Okay, there's nothing in the chat, Ryan. You can see say hands raised. There's no hands raised.
Perfect. In terms of player registration, the FA are delivering 4 sessions. You'll see that the first one has gone on Monday, but the other 3 are upcoming and starting tomorrow. On the presentation, you'll see at the bottom there's a link to a form. On that, it will just ask you for some personal details regarding your email address and a few other bits like that. And they're the 3 upcoming sessions. Those sessions will be delivered by the FA team that run the system. So you've got the super users and the people that use on a day-to-day basis that can guide you through that player registration stuff. So if you're free and you want to attend it, you just click on that link and then you'll be able to book yourself onto the sessions.
Couple of questions, Ryan.
Yeah.
Russell Hine, question on AGM.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something that cropped up last week on one of our meetings through Teams, whether we could hold an AGM, and if actually one was required as a club, could we push forward a rule of continuation due to the current situation for all club officials, etc. Or do we have to have an AGM?
Yeah, so in terms of an AGM, the club will need to have an AGM to ensure it fits in with its constitution. You should have set a date in last year's AGM of when it would be this season, but due to the current situation, it may be that date needs to be looked and agreed with the members to be moved to a later date. Again, based on the current things that are going on, it may be difficult to answer all the questions that you would normally do in an AGM. In terms of using Teams, that's something that you wouldn't necessarily have to mandate in your AGM, because as a committee, you could decide that actually moving forwards for a variety of different reasons, Teams is the preferred method, saving travelling time, different things like that. So in terms of Teams, that's something you can agree as a committee, but the AGM is something that you will still need to run to ensure you keep in with your constitution.
Brilliant, thank you.
And we have another question, Neil Brown, hand raised. Neil.
Thank you. Sorry, you said players have to have emails. I guess for the juniors, you mean parent emails, but attached to the player's profile. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So just moving back onto the technology portal. So that for the 2021-22 season, it will be mandatory for all players. So like you've mentioned, for under 16 players, that will need to be a parent. And as you can see on here, on the portal, there's a guide to add an email address for an under 16 player, which will be their parents' fan that's connected. So it might be worth, the leagues are currently in the process of deciding whether or not they're mandating it for the new season or not. But like I said, the FA will make it mandatory the season afterwards. So whether your league mandates it or not, it might be worth trying to get into the good habit of getting your players to use this anyway. Because then when we get to this time next season, actually, 2 seasons' time, it will reduce the amount of time that you're having to spend as a club.
Okay, thank you.
There's no further questions at this stage, Ryan.
Perfect. Thank you very much. On to Liam.
Thanks, Ryan. We're at the halfway stage of the meeting, so it's great that we've already had questions through. Keep them coming, and like I say, we'll try and answer them as best we can. It's an opportunity for you as clubs to look at chart standard, obviously both for existing chart standard clubs and for those that are interested in the actual programme itself. I appreciate from a coaching point of view, we're not delivering our courses, so they're all postponed as we go in through this crisis at the moment. So I appreciate you can't obviously signpost any of your coaches onto the courses, but I suppose what you can do is take that opportunity to look at what you've got for the next season coming up, in terms of who needs to either renew their safeguarding or emergency aid. Right, just move on to the next slide for me. So, basically it is an opportunity to kind of take stock and have a look what you've got, just making sure for those clubs that are already charter standard, for those obviously charter standard clubs, development clubs and community clubs, you need to be having at least one level 1 coach per team. Obviously you all will be aware all coaches need to have an in-date DBS. You can't affiliate without that. So obviously that applies to your coaches and obviously your volunteers. Valid safeguarding children. So obviously if any of those coaches within the club, it's coming up to expiry, it's just making them aware they need to renew that. But obviously given the current situation, they can't attend the course. But once things get back to normal, it's just a case of signposting them to the appropriate courses, and the same with the emergency aid. You've got 4 different types of charter standard. I'm sure most of you will be aware. So for those clubs that have just got even 1 team, you can go in at charter standard club level. If you've got 5 teams or more, you can apply to become an FA charter standard development club. If you've got 10 teams or more, and you must include at least 1 female team, you can be a community club. And then for adult club, it's different to the others where you don't need to have that level 1 coach. It's just making sure, obviously the coaches have got the DBSs and they've got at least the emergency aid certificate in there. Obviously your first point of contact is Adam Wing. Adam is currently on furlough, as Ricky mentioned earlier. So you can get in contact with me if for those clubs that are on the call that aren't charter standard but are interested in becoming a charter standard club. And then obviously once we get back to normal, Adam will be your first point of contact. Also just want to finish off on the charter standard bit just to say thank you to all those clubs that have submitted their health check. I know we do ask a lot of you, and it's great that you are continually monitoring what you've got within the club. I think we've approved over 150 annual health checks in the last 3 or 4 months. So just to say a big thank you on behalf of everyone at the County FA. Okay, have we got any questions?
We have a question from Anita Line. Anita, the DBS question we will answer a little bit later, but there's a question around how do new managers that need a level 1 when courses are not running? Yeah,
so obviously at the moment, those managers can't go on to a level 1. So we've got to appreciate, I suppose, patience and, in terms of once things are back up and running, obviously we'll know when the season starts. And as soon as we've got the green light, we'll be delivering those courses. But we appreciate the moment. It's just bearing with us on that one. So it's obviously a difficult question to kind of answer at the moment.
Just a quick point on the affiliation. Although people need to have certain requirements normally to meet the roles and things like that, for the point of affiliation, those roles will temporarily be disabled. So you will still be able to affiliate your club if people don't have the DBS in place. However, when the season starts, those people do need to have those things in place. So whilst that allows us to affiliate you and know where we are with clubs and teams, you still do need to get those things completed and in place for the new season once those restrictions are lifted.
Any other questions, Ricky?
We have got one in the chat. We have Lee Farthing. I have 2 coaches that had their level 1 course cancelled midway through. How will they get sorted?
Okay, good question, Lee. Obviously, for those courses that we've had to postpone, we will be looking to rearrange those for another time. Obviously, Tash, once she's back at work, she will be in communication with those. And obviously, for that course that you're talking about, it will be a case of can they attend the rearranged dates, or obviously we would then look to possibly look at a refund. So again, it's just bearing with us, but it's just obviously a difficult situation for everyone at the moment.
Hand raised from Ross Marshall. Ross, if you want to mute yourself.
Yeah, just on one of the courses, I'm booked on the Child Welfare Officer course, 4th of June. I think it is an evening course.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a no contact course, unlike the level 1.
Yeah.
Have you any intention of that one still going ahead with social distancing in place?
No, Ross, that won't be. You'll be getting an email before the end of the week. We'll be informing all the learners on that. So all our courses from what was it, 17th of March. So we cancelled all the courses in April and May, and obviously it will be June, and it looks like July as well. So you will get an email, Ross, confirming that it will be postponed, and we will look obviously to rearrange that course.
Right, okay, with the intention that that one had been renewed before the season started.
Exactly, Ross, yeah. So as soon as we've got the green light, we'll look to get that in as soon as we can.
Okay.
That will obviously be a priority, because we appreciate clubs need to have a welfare officer. So for me, you know, that will be a priority, as will be with the level 1 that Lee's just asked the question about, you know, halfway through a course and we've had to cancel. We will look to get them organised as soon as we can.
Okay.
Okay.
Some more questions, Liam. Lee Smith, if you have a level 1 per team, but he's unavailable for a game, but as a DBS checked assistant, can the assistant take the game or session?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've said this before to clubs that, you know, we want to ensure that you have a level 1 coach there. Appreciate obviously work commitments, family commitments, etc. But as Charter Standard guidelines say, that, you know, you need to be having a level 1 coach there. So that's really in line with the criteria.
Next question, Claire Bowler. If a health check is due, but the courses are not running, i.e. they need safeguarding, what will happen to the annual health check?
So with the annual health checks, all of them have been approved, obviously, for the season just gone. So the annual health check process, as you will be aware, will be opening again in September. So you can submit at any point, and hopefully by then we'll know when the new season will be starting. So, for example, if the season does start in September, which would be great, and the annual health check process opens at that point, you can look to get the coach obviously onto a safeguarding course. We'll be delivering them. And then if you wanted to submit your health check before Christmas, you can do. The actual deadline every year is the end of March. So that's what process you would follow.
Next question, Russell Hine. What is happening with the Charter Standard overall?
Good question, Ross. I don't know if Adam's explained it, but he's part of a working group where the actual name of Charter Standard could possibly be changing, the criteria, benefits. So there's a big review at the moment that the FA are looking at. You will obviously, everyone will be made aware of what the changes will be. And I think that the intention is for the 22 season, we'll be looking to implement those. But like I say, Adam's part of a working group, and they are looking at how they can amend and relaunch Charter Standard.
Okay, and last question at the moment, Lee Smith. Also, if no courses are available, what do we do about new teams, as they won't be able to get the level 1 before the season starts?
Yeah, good question, Lee. I think I've said before, it's difficult. I mean, I think we've got to give it a little bit of leeway here. But like I say, as soon as we've got that green light, I can guarantee we'll be on the ball. Like I say, Tash had organised quite a few courses through the summer, and that's where we deliver majority of our courses, and when people are obviously available, because it's not in season. So we will look to get those out to you. And I know Lee, obviously with Shirebrook in the past, have been great getting those coaches booked on the courses. So I know as a club, they will do that anyway. So we will look to put courses across several different venues across the county to give everyone the best possible chance to get the level 1 qualification. But like I say, we've got to give a little bit of leeway depending on when the season starts. Okay.
That's all the questions for now, Liam.
Right. Over to Jen.
Okay, thanks, Liam. Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of updates from me. I know the DBS check has already been mentioned. For anybody who had a DBS check expired between the 1st of March 2020 and the 1st of October 2020, the FA have imposed a temporary measure whereby that has been extended for a period of 12 months. That will be reviewed dependent on how long football is not being played. So as long as the grassroots ban remains, the FA will continue to review that position. No new DBS checks, unfortunately, can be submitted whilst football activity remains suspended. And the reason for this is that the documents need to be seen by whoever's doing the verification face to face. And obviously, once you submit your application, it will only remain on the system for a certain amount of time. What we are hoping, obviously, is that we have a date for football to resume. We have time then that we can actually get the DBS checks through. The majority of them now, on the whole, through the whole game system, the average is for 16 days. So that's the turnaround for the majority of DBS checks. Some of them have come back in 2 and 3 days, but for the majority of them, it is normally around 2 weeks fully completed. One thing you will find, your club welfare officers have been made aware, they were asked to enter the PINs onto the whole game system. So when you do now commence new DBS checks, they will all be done through the whole game system. If your club welfare officer hasn't entered your PIN, I've done it for them. So all DBS checks will be done through the whole game. And the reason for that is that it's an awful lot quicker, it's a lot speedier, and it means less duplication of fan numbers. No volunteers moving forward will be permitted to carry out regulated activity with under 18s until they've obtained a DBS check. So as we've said, we do expect some time to allow us to do the DBS checks before football resumes once we have that actual date from the FA. And as it says, as I've mentioned already, a further update will be issued by the FA as soon as we know any more information. Any questions so far? Is there one in the chat?
There's no more coming, Jen, but I think that answers a need to Lime's question. If it's not a need to, please ask it.
Okay. Next slide, Ryan, please. So looking at open age teams, 16 and 17-year-olds, this is something that we talked about in the Club Welfare Officer Network events earlier this year. And it also follows a letter that all clubs received or should have received from the FA that was sent out in January, looking at your responsibilities for safeguarding with regard to 16 and 17-year-olds. So what the FA have asked you to do, if you do have open age teams, is to adopt the FA Safeguarding Children policy. Now is an ideal time to get those processes in place. If you're not sure where the policy is, you're not sure how to find it, drop me an email and I can send it you through. You do not have to reinvent the wheel here. The policies have been templated by the FA. So there is one for children, there's one for clubs with open age teams, and there's also one for leagues. So I will show you in a minute all the policies, but it's quite a straightforward one that you need to have a look at. Just add your club name in. So as I say, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's one thing that we will be looking for this season, because having had a look at a number of clubs and leagues pages, safeguarding policies are not always on there. So that is something that you do need to make sure you do have a copy of. You need to have identified which teams have got 16 and 17-year-olds, and any coaches, managers and assistants added and linked those to the whole game system against the team with the 16 and 17-year-olds. They are also the ones that you are then identifying that need a DBS check, because any coach, any manager and their assistants do from this season on need that DBS check working with children under the age of 18. And also provided all those 16 and 17-year-olds with the safeguarding information, and that includes the Know Your Rights that was cascaded out from the FA, also followed up from ourselves. We sent the email out to all clubs with a copy of the leaflet, so you can easily cascade it then. If you haven't received it, drop me an email again, and obviously I can send that out to you. Next page, Ryan, please. This is the complete directory, so easily accessible. All you need to do here is on the FA website, just type in the FA safeguarding. It will take you to the safeguarding pages, and at the bottom of there, it gives you the complete directory. All the policy and procedures, there's over 50 policies here, black and white and colour, that you can access. Anything that you would want for your club, you will find here. Mentioned the one before, the template for safeguarding procedures. You can see there 1.4. 1.4b is the one for clubs with open age teams. And as I say, easy to adopt. The other ones I just want to point out there, two brand new safeguarding policies that have been placed on the website in May. 6.4 is a document for coaches and managers, safeguarding the digital world, the online procedures for whilst we are staying at home. So that tells you if you are communicating with young people, what you need to do, thinking about your background, thinking about where you are, gives you the guidance for your coaches and your managers. And 8.5, similar guidance for parents and carers. So you might want to send that out to your parents and carers if they are involved in any of the activity with you. And the Know Your Rights one that we mentioned before, that one's again within the complete directory at 7.1. Any questions on the policies?
We've got a question, Jen, Anita Line. Have the policies changed from last year? We used a lot of these from last season.
Some of them have, Anita. The safeguarding policies, the youth one, which is 1.4a, that is the same, the one that was uploaded May 2019, but the new ones, there are some new ones that have been added since. So what I would say, while we've got some downtime, is just have a look, make sure yours is as up to date as it possibly can. But there have been some changes, but not to all the policies.
Nothing further at this stage, Jen.
Okay. And the last few points there, new measures for this season onwards. Ryan's already touched on the first one. So the new player registration, this is coming in for all players, but obviously the area that Ryan showed you earlier was with regard to the under-16s. But for the 2021 season, it is a league decision whether they mandate player registration by email. We did hold the league event last evening, and we did ask all leagues to let us know what their decision is, so we can understand whether or not leagues are mandating that. For the 21-22 season, that is mandated by the FA, so all players will have to have an email address on the system. The reason for the parent link for under 16-year-olds is fairly obvious with regard to communication. So the communication has to be with the parent carer. That parent carer can obviously update the details, but that obviously makes sure that there is no direct communication with an under 16. During the 2021 season, all club welfare officers have to have an in-date Safeguarding Children workshop qualification. So previously they did the Safeguarding Children workshop and they did the welfare officer workshop, but they didn't need to be refreshed. That has changed from this season. So the same as coaches and all other club officials, club welfare officers have also got to refresh that every 3 years. The recertification has been sent out to all club welfare officers, and again, the advice is while you've got time, have a look at that and try and do that if you know it's going to expire this year. So obviously your qualification can then be refreshed. For the 2021 season again, new measure for all Youth League committee members. They are required to complete the online safeguarding for committee members. So that's your 4 main roles plus all assistants. And for them, the online committee members course is more directed towards clubs. But we have asked just that they work through it. It is a qualification that the FA have mandated, so they do need to do it. But what I will say is, for everybody else, the online safeguarding for committee members has been extended for 12 months, as most of you have been made aware. And the reason for that is that we are currently updating it. So we're piloting it at the moment to make sure that obviously it covers all groups that it needs to, which obviously then includes leagues. One thing we have asked for in Derbyshire, and this is not mandated by the FA, but what we are looking to do here is we've asked all adult leagues to nominate for the new season a league welfare officer. So I'm talking about adult leagues that have open age clubs and teams. The reason that we've gone down this route is to try and help clubs, particularly clubs or teams who don't have youth teams attached to them, so they don't have a club welfare officer and therefore cannot do the DBS checks. And what we're looking to do is set up league welfare officers for each league, and I have to say all leagues have now nominated, so that process is underway to ensure that those league welfare officers can work with the clubs to ensure that clubs club officials, coaches and managers don't all have to come to the County FA. They can obviously link in with the League Welfare Officer for the verification of the DBS checks. And the final one there, the final new measure around the referees, this should have been in for this season, but due to obviously the courses not being available, referees must have an in-date DBS, in-date safeguarding qualification, and also the parent linked email address similar to the player registration one that we mentioned at the top of the slide. Any questions on any of the new measures at all?
Couple of questions, Jen. First one, hand raised, Tom Voon.
Hi, this is about the player linked emails. If an under 18 player is getting linked to a parent who has already in the FA system because they previously used to play football, will that be a simple process?
I'm going to look at Ryan to answer this one because Ryan does most of the work on the whole game system.
Yeah, it's a simple process. So it's easier for people that do have a fan number than don't, because the people that don't will have to create a fan number first and then link that with their child. Going back to the technology portal that we showed a few moments ago, that shows it really simply what you need to do.
Sorry, so does that mean I have to tell parents to register on the FA system before they can register their child with me?
So for the new season, unless you're league mandated, then no. But moving forwards in 2 seasons' time, then yes, they would have to do that.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing I'd just add there, Tom, is to get them to do it as well, because otherwise that would be a huge task for you as club officials, be it the secretary, the club welfare officer, whoever does that, if you've got a number of teams within your club. So it will be an awful lot easier to get parents to do that for you or for them.
Just adding to that, I think a lot of people, more people than you probably appreciate, will have a fan number from buying England tickets to potentially being an official quite a while ago. So another thing they can do is to try and see if they have an existing fan number. Again, the portal will show them how to do that. And then if they haven't, to create a fan number is really quick and simple to do.
Yeah, I think my issue is that asking parents to register themselves on FA, they'll probably like re-register themselves, so then there'll be multiple FA numbers, which will then cause problems.
That's something that the system will no longer allow them to do. So it will only allow one email address on the system. So similar to if you have accounts with Amazon or other different retailers that only let you have one email address per account, this will be the same. So if they're trying to create a fan number, even though they've already got one, the system won't allow them to do that, and it will try and push them towards that existing fan number that they've already got.
I think you're underestimating my parents with their multiple email addresses.
The FA have spent a lot of time this summer effectively deleting them. So, like I say, it should now be less frequent than it has been in previous seasons.
Okay, thanks.
Couple of questions in the chat, Jen. Donna Bowman, if you have under 18s playing in a men's league and you need to assign a club safeguarding officer, will they be able to do this before the start of the season?
Yeah, so are you talking there, Donna, about a club welfare officer for the whole club?
Yeah, we've got 2 men's team in the Chesterfield Sunday League, and we have 2 16-year-olds that play for the second team. So we're aware that we've got to designate a safeguarding officer, with obviously incorporating DBS checks and everything else. Would this process be completed in time?
Okay, so 2 parts to the question there, really. All your officials, so all your coaches and all your managers who are involved with that team, or those teams where you've got those 16-year-old players, they will all need a DBS check. Hopefully, as I said before, we should have time to do those, and I think we should get an indication of when football will restart, hopefully some time before it actually does. So we will have the time to actually process those, and as I say, the bulk of them, they're saying, takes 16 days. So we should be able to get the DBS checks through without a problem. However, if you actually want to designate somebody as a club welfare officer or a safeguarding officer, they would also have to do, for a club welfare officer, it would be the Safeguarding Children workshop, the Welfare Officer workshop, the online safeguarding for committee members. So they would also have to attend those face-to-face courses, which I would suggest we will struggle to do before football restarts. So you might be better at this stage looking at your coaches and your managers. If you do then want to designate one of them as a safeguarding officer after that, then obviously I can send you the details through when we've got course dates again. And in the meantime, any support that you would need from a safeguarding point of view, give me a ring, drop me an email. I'll help in any way I can.
That's lovely, thank you. And do we have to have a brand new DBS check, or because I have a DBS check for my NHS job, am I allowed to use that?
No, some of them are transferable. If your DBS check is actually a portable one, then there are ways of transferring that across to the FA. But to be perfectly honest, it's far more simple and the same cost to actually start a new FA DBS. So the advice that we generally give is if you do an FA one, then it's on the system and it's a new one for 3 years.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay.
Just a couple more, I think it's more statements more than anything, that people are helping each other. I need to align, if it helps, we send out player reg forms and ask for a parent's email address and let them know why we're using it. And then she's gone on to say it's really simple process, adding parent emails.
That's great, thanks Anita. As Ryan said earlier and showed on the portal, the guidelines are there, and the YouTube clip actually talks you through and shows you what you need to do. But if anybody needs me to send that out, I can send you an email with that information and talk you through. Not a problem if you want to drop me a message.
Next person, Andre Ross Marshall.
Yeah, just on the FA DBS, obviously I've got one of those and it's in date. Are they transferable between clubs? So
Yes.
If I move to a different club, that's fine.
Yeah, so as long as you've got an FA DBS, an enhanced one to work with children, then yeah, that's transferable across, not a problem.
Okay.
Nothing further at this stage, Jen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, coach education, so we touched on this earlier. Next slide, right? Yeah, so just to make it clear, obviously we're not running any courses, so they all are postponed until further notice. And once, obviously, as Jen just said, once we get the green light, we'll have that time to get the courses rearranged and obviously put some more in there, so you've got plenty of options prior to the start of the season. Obviously, in terms of your first point of contact will be Tash Aldridge at the County FA. Obviously, Tash is on furlough, so if you have got any further questions around coach education, then obviously you can get in touch with myself, Ryan, Ricky or Jen. There is some online learning that you can do though, while we are waiting to get back into the real world and get out there playing or even coaching. So there's the boot room, which the FA recently set up not long ago. So there's some great online CPD you can have on there. There's links to online courses as well. So it's just a case of clicking on that link. And as Ryan mentioned earlier, you'll get this presentation. The same with FA Learning as well. And then there's a YouTube channel which you can access, and that's great for having a look at different coaching sessions and picking up ideas. I think, no matter how long you've been a coach, it's always nice to get new ideas, different ways of working, different challenges for your teams, etc. And it's just a case of just kind of staying active and staying involved in football. So I do encourage you to use those online links. Okay, next one, Ryan. Okay, player engagement. We've seen some great examples on Facebook and Twitter of clubs posting different challenges, and I know for some of you have kind of been on the phone to me explaining you've been using Zoom, which is great. There's no, if you want to use that, that's great. Just making sure you adhere to the safeguarding, guidelines in terms of social media. Obviously some are using Microsoft Teams. You're giving your players challenges, which is great. I'm having a challenge of my own with my two girls, trying to do schoolwork. It was going well for the first 2 weeks. Since then, it's gone downhill rapidly. So they will get bored. So it is a case of trying to take some time out. There's some quiz, obviously online quizzes that you can use and adopt, and maybe that'll be good to kind of keep people interested, obviously in football while we do wait. I'll put on there Euro 96, what a tournament that was. all them years ago. I think we are currently missing the rerun of England v Holland tonight. And the Bundesliga obviously started last weekend, so maybe giving the players challenges to watch certain positions, different formations, tactics, just to kind of watch football would be nice, because let's face it, we've not seen any of that recently. So that's just a kind of a way of engaging with your players as we go through this crisis, which that's what it is at the moment. Okay. Next slide. So I've got some funding information to share with you. So again, some of you will be familiar because I know some of you on the call have been successful in applying for funding recently, which has been great. So this is the new Football Foundation website. So if you haven't been on it, get yourself on it, get familiar with it in terms of how to navigate around it. It's a lot better, I can assure you, it's a lot better than the previous one. So when you do go onto the website, there's a green tab at the top of the homepage. You click on that, looking for funding, and then it brings this page up that you see in front of you, which have got different icons right the way from a 3G pitch through to maintenance equipment. So there's different options on there. We've already seen, which is great, and this is stuff that you can prepare for next season, unlike the coaching and obviously the playing side, but things like goalposts and maintenance equipment. We've had some real success where clubs have been applying for either new goalposts or replacements. So for those of you that have been in the game for a while now, Football Foundation, the goalposts, it always used to be replacement. It's actually for new as well. So if you are in need of goalposts for the new season, get yourself onto the Football Foundation website. The application, we did a little bit of a test, county FAs. I came second. It literally, I think, took me just under 5 minutes to complete the application, and that was being timed under pressure. So it doesn't take that long, really straightforward. And then you've got your bigger projects where 3Gs, where obviously it takes a lot more time. And, you know, obviously in terms of documentation and the work that you'll have to do with myself to make sure we get those bigger projects through. We've had some real success. And again, there's some people on the call that have had a pitch improvement revenue grant for the next 6 years, which is fantastic. So, you know, like I said, get yourself familiar with it. And if you've got any questions, just please ask me. Next slide, Ryan.
Just a comment, Liam, been received. Neil Brown saying we've just received £2,160 towards goalposts. Really easy to apply. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Neil. Just back to what I said. Hopefully you did it in a quicker time than me when I complete the application. Well done. Okay, the next one, this has just been launched. So obviously the Football Foundation, like ourselves and everybody involved in football in a minute, very mindful that it's a challenge for clubs, and particularly for those clubs that are having to maintain and look after their pitches and get them ready. And let's face it, when we do get back to playing, the pitches should be like Wembley with a bit of luck. So this new Football Foundation Pitch Preparation Fund is for all clubs within the National League system and below. So so far it does say 38 on there, but as of today I've checked on the system, we've actually now got 45. So all our clubs within the National League system from step 1 down to step 6, I think with the exception of 2 have all applied, and there's other grassroots clubs that have applied as well that obviously look after their own pitch. So again, if you do look after your own pitch and you haven't applied yet and you've got any questions, let me know. But again, the application process is really straightforward, and we've had over 2,000 applications submitted nationally, and that will continue to grow. The closing date is Monday the 25th of May. Next slide. So this is just the eligibility criteria, just as I mentioned there. So I won't go through it. I'm sure you can all read that. So this is only for clubs, so it's not for local authorities, schools, town or parish councils or leisure trusts. It's just for clubs only. It's also worth pointing out, if you've been successful applying for the Sport England Community Emergency Fund, which we sent out about a month ago, and it was towards pitch maintenance works, you would not be eligible for this particular fund. Also, if you've been successful with the pitch revenue grant, as I mentioned before, with a 6-year one, I know there's a couple of clubs on the line. Again, you wouldn't be eligible for this pitch preparation fund because it's like double funding. Okay, next slide. Okay, just moving on with the grass pitches. So far we've had 22 successful grants that have been approved by the Football Foundation. That's around 560,000 worth of equipment investment for Derbyshire, which is great. We've actually carried out 91 to date grass pitch visits across 36 sites. since July. So basically, with the grass pitch improvement programme, your first to start the process would be to complete the visit request form, which is the link on there. That then tells me you want to visit. We will get that arranged with one of our pitch advisors, which will be Julian, Mike or Martin. A report is then produced for you, which you would then use for funding. And if your pitch is deemed basic or poor, you then can apply for that funding to improve the pitches. If your pitch is on a local authority site, parish council, you will need an agreement with that local authority or parish council or even school to apply for the funding and obviously get the external contractor on there. So even though you don't own the actual pitch or look after it, you can do it in partnership, but you would need authorization, and we have got an actual template agreement form which you can adopt. The whole point of this program, like I say, a plan will be implemented through the funding, and then we revisit the pitch or pitches in 12 months time, and hopefully those pitches will be improved. This is part of a big scheme that we're looking to improve, and I'm sure you can all sympathise that the pitches aren't good enough. They need to be improved, and this is what we are implementing across the county. Just before I move on to the next slide, has anybody got any questions? Don't know if there's anything in the chat, Ricky.
There's nothing in the chat, Ryan. No hands raised at the moment, so I'd carry on.
Yeah, okay. Just further information on the funding. So this is the pitch revenue grant. So the 6-year programme, it's a 10-year maintenance plan. So after the 6 years of funding, it will get reviewed, and it may be that you need some more investment for the remaining 4 years. How it works, and again, for those that are interested, you get 100% up front from the Football Foundation for year 1 and year 2. And then from year 3 onwards, you are required to make a contribution. So you need to be mindful of that. And obviously, for those clubs that are interested, I can explain the process. And again, keep saying it, but there are a few people on the call that have been through it. And I like to think that they've found the process really easy. It is for step 7 clubs only and below. And if you are at step 7, you need to have a team that's playing below step 7 to be eligible. Okay. Obviously, when you think about funding as a football club, your natural direction is to go to the Football Foundation. But maybe some of you aren't aware, but Active Derbyshire, one of our key partners, and I've done a lot of work in the past with Edwina Archer. She's fantastic. She's the funding lead at Active Derbyshire. And obviously, they work with all sports from football through to hockey. So I think, you know, in terms of her knowledge, she will have that wider base in terms of what other funding streams are out there, which are not directly obviously coming through the Football Foundation or football base. So it might be charities. You've got the Derbyshire Community Foundation. So places like that, obviously Sport England. So she will have that knowledge. And also, I know clubs have met with Edwina, they've spoken to her on the phone, and she will give you some hints and tips in terms of the right terminology to make sure your application is successful. So don't always think just about the Football Foundation, and you know, the Active Derbyshire is there should you wish to contact Edwina. And she's not on furlough at the moment, so her number's on there and her email address, and a link on there to the Active Derbyshire website. So I encourage you to go on to that. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier, Sport England Community Emergency Fund. It's currently frozen due to the high number of applications. We've had over 10,000 across the country, and this has been available obviously to football, but also other sports. And they've been able to apply for grants between £300 and £10,000. So at the moment it is frozen. Again, thank you to those clubs that have let us know that you've been successful. We don't have information in who's have been applied, because obviously due to data protection. So we've been relying on those clubs to let us know that they've been successful. Obviously, once it is reopened, Sport England will let us know, and we'll make sure we get that message out to all the clubs. Okay. Any questions on the funding before kind of finish off?
We've got a hand raised, Liam. I'm just looking. Dennis Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. When you say it's been suspended, we've had one accepted but not received the money. Has it been suspended from a payment point of view or just application?
No, Dennis, basically, so if you've been told you've been successful, I think it's 28 days before the payment will come through to the account.
Right, so we can still expect that. That's not.
Yeah, if you've had notification that you've been told that you've been successful, it will be 28 days before the money comes into your account. So that won't delay it just because it's frozen. It's just if, clubs have tried to apply at this point, obviously that won't be looked at until it reopens. But in your case, it'll be about 28 days before the money's in your account.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Just to finish off, obviously we've talked about football. I know you're all desperate for it to be back. We are, obviously the weather out today is fantastic, but what comes first above all else is health and family and making sure you're all okay with your jobs, your lives, etc. That's the most important thing. It is unprecedented times we're going through right now. And I know, the people who are on the call and people that I speak to every day has been great. And I know you're all desperate to get back and you're all strong, but the only way we're going to get through this is together and supporting one another, not blaming each other. And we will give you as much information as we can and support you. We might not always have the answers, but we will try to do our best to support you. And obviously, moving forward, please don't hesitate to give myself, Ryan, Jen, or Ricky a call or drop us an email. We are there should you need us. Next slide, Ryan. Has anybody, just before we finish off, has anybody got any questions you want to fire into?
Liam, we've got another question. Lee Farthing.
Yeah, Lee.
Hi guys. Not really a question. I just wanted to say thanks really on behalf of all the clubs for all the work you guys are doing. I think these meetings are very valuable, and it stops us all feeling totally alone with parents and our coaches asking us when and why and what's happening. So really thanks to all you guys and for the help in funding. We have been successful in goalposts. We haven't been successful with Sport England, but you win some, you lose some, and really without all your guys' help and support, we wouldn't be. So just on behalf of Field Lane and probably speaking for all the other clubs, thanks very much, guys. Appreciate
that, Lee. Thank you very much. Like I say, we are trying our best. We've got staff on furlough. In terms of communication, we've obviously just recently put a statement out on the website, on Facebook and obviously Twitter. So just keep an eye out. We'll update you as much as we can. I promise, as soon as we hear anything, you'll be the first to know. We're desperate to get things going just as much as you are.
Another question, Liam.
Yeah.
Under 16, under 17 safeguarding, is this just for under 18 teams or for those years under 16 teams, even though the players may not be 16 yet?
Do you want me to answer that, Liam?
Yeah, go on, Jan, yeah.
So the guidelines that's come out with regard to the 16 and 17-year-old players is reflective of what's already in place or what already should be in place for all players in youth teams. So all that's happened here is that the FA have responded to concerns that 16 and 17-year-olds in open age football are not given the same safeguarding, not given the same the club welfare officers, the policies and everything that goes with it that obviously you see across youth clubs. So everything that is in place now for 16 and 17-year-olds should already be in place for your youth teams anyway. Any other concerns around things that you've not got in place or you're not sure whether you've got what you need for your youth teams, whether it be that your policy or whatever, drop me an email, give me a ring, happy to talk through or have a look at what you've got and give advice that way. Does that answer your question, Neil?
Yes, it does, Jen. Yeah.
Okay.
And the other message is just of thanks, and I certainly want to thank everyone for your messages, because we are trying to do this. It's like Liam's last slide said, we're all in this together, so it's important that we can work through this together as well.
There's just a couple of more slides and then we will, I promise we will finish. I know we've run over. Just to let you know, we had a club engagement session on Monday morning, which was the first one. That was well received. I think we had 29 on that one. We had some great feedback. Been great to have so many of you on the call today. We had a meeting with all our leagues last night. Obviously, we've had this one tonight. We've got 2 more for the club welfare officers next week and the referees as well to finish off with. But I think, we'll get this presentation out to you all. And we'll also get the feedback form out to you as well for you to complete, because you've just gone to the next slide, Ryan. There's a couple of topics that people have expressed they're interested in, facilities and investment being one, and groundsman. So when you get the feedback form sent through, if you do want future topics. I appreciate there's been a lot of information tonight, but I think moving forward we will continue to have these meetings, but we'll probably focus on 1 or maybe 2 topics max, so we can go through that. And obviously it'll be probably a shorter meeting than what we've had tonight, but I'm hoping it's been valuable, and you know, giving up your time is much appreciated. And on behalf of Jen, Ryan and Ricky, and obviously everyone at Derbyshire FA, thank you very much for attending. And if there are no further questions, any further questions, Rick?
Nothing further, Liam.
Okay, just leaves me to say thank you, guys. Like I say, you will get the presentation, you will get the feedback form. I will get that out to you tomorrow morning. But like I say, keep in touch and stay safe. Thank you all.